Morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Continuing on the Hachana train for Shavuos. This class is sponsored anonymously for Refuah Shleima for Esther, Rochel, Bas, Ora, Yittel. Have a speed Refuah Shleima. Okay, what we're going to learn today and this week is, first of all, some Likkutei, no alter ego, but it's a wild maamer, and basically it's short, and it's going to change a whole perspective. Now, Baruch Hashem, nowadays I think a lot of us, especially with the help of a few good teachers online, the meaning of bittul has changed. Has not changed, has been clarified. But when I grew up, and I learned Chassidus in the beginning, in the way I understood it, bittul means you're a nobody. Chassidus teacher, you're really a nobody. You have to learn that. And everything you learn, when it says bittul, that's what it means. You know, I was speaking to someone recently, not so recently anymore, a year ago. And he also grew up from, and then he's not so from anymore. And we're talking about this concept of bittul. Somehow came up. And I said, what I told him was like this. I said, I learned Chassidus. Chassidus taught me how amazing I am, and really built up my self-confidence. And he was like, what? How did Chassidus do that? So we talked about it a little bit, whatever. And I ended up showing him, I was learning, it was like Tanya or something for the week. And I'm like, oh, look at this. One of the discussion, I said, it's really all interpretation. It's how you learn the concept. So I was talking about what it was Tanya I saw. And Alter Rebbe says, I can't remember what it was. It was basically Hashem cares about what you're doing, and everything you do makes a difference. And so I said to him, look at it, this is what I'm talking about. This is what changed my life. And so he realized that because I see how you're seeing it, if I could see how I saw it in the past. And so bittul is another example of this. And this is talking about what's it called? Having a good sense of being self. And Alter Rebbe already talks about this 200 years ago, more than 250 years ago. Can everyone? One second. Okay, so let's begin. Essentially, we'll do it outside and we'll go inside. It's relatively short. The question is, I don't want to give it away. Pretty straightforward. So we'll just do it inside because the question I'm going to ask is, why was the Torah given Har Sinai? So we all know the famous story. The kids teach it. The Torah given Har Sinai. Why? Because Har Sinai was humble. It was the humblest of mountains, the smallest. That's why. So what do we learn here? You have to be humble. You have to be a nobody. You have to be a small mountain. All these big mountains. And Har Sinai is a small mountain. The Alter Rebbe asks a very klutz kasha, it's called. It's a very obvious, very simple question. Now, if saying the whole purpose of the giving of the Torah, why it was given on Har Sinai, specifically because it had this inyan of bittul. So, and this is what we're talking about, like we talked about till now. So if it's the whole purpose of bittul, so why was the Torah given on Har Sinai? Why was it given on a mountain? Bittul, if we're talking about bittul, I'm a nobody. So a mountain's not a nobody, a mountain's a mountain. So why is it not given on the floor or in a valley? It's a real bittul, it's in the valley, And that's sort of the question you're going to answer. It's very short in Likkutei Torah. It's very short, and it's like 2 pages, meaning two columns. So let's see. So I found that this book, this printing I got for myself when I sent it out, it's called Lesson in Likkutei Torah. It's a chassid that he writes it up in English, and he puts in some footnotes and stuff. When someone else looked at it, whatever. I looked it up online, I found it. Okay. Let's go. So the question is, why was the Har Sinai chosen to be given on it? Okay, Inyan Shnishna Torah Har Sinai. The question is, why? We need to understand why the Torah is given on Har Sinai. So the Alter Rebbe introduced it. In Inyan Shnishna, the idea that the Torah is given on Har Sinai. And since she's asking why. It wasn't on the mountain of Tavar and Chermoin, the Carmel, all those other different mountains, nice mountains, beautiful, more beautiful than Har Sinai. Shebal Gam Kain, they also came and requested the Torah should be given to them. Like it explained in Tag Yonason, in Pasha Shaftim, Simon Hay, al Pasuk on the Pasuk, Harim Nazlu, that the mountains trembled before Hashem. Hashem, Sinai. This is talking about Har Sinai. Hashem, because of Hashem, the God of Israel. So he explains over there, and I'm not, and he brings it down. Bisham, what does it say? What happens? It says, Turaya Za'u min Kadam Hashem, that the mountains trembled before Hashem. Turah, the Tavar, trembled, that the Turah, the mountain of Tavar, Turah, the Chermoin, mountain of Chermoin, the Turah, the Carmela, mountain of Carmel, Sheter Garshin, Dain im Dain. And they fought with each other. And they said, Dain Ladain one to another. Dain number one said, Alai Tishrei Shchinti, on me it's a feeling that Torah should be giving on it. I'm worthy. But Din Ladain Amar, and the other one said, Alai Tishrei Shchinti, I'm fitting, it should be given to me. Yes, every mountain was going around asking that the Torah should be given to them. And Hashem says, I will rest my Shechina on Har Sinai. Why? Because it is the smallest and weakest of all mountains. So you see here, the smallest and weakest of all mountains, so we should be small and weak. This is why the Torah is given Har Sinai. Ubetilim Simen Chavches. Al-Apostle says over there in Tehillim, in the commentary on Tehillim, Lama Torah to do and Harim. Why do these tall mountains dance around haughtily? Yeah, Harim Gavnunim Hahar Chamad Elikim L'Shivtei Af Hashem Yishken LaNetzach, and they wanted Hashem to dwell in their mountains. Yeah, so Leis Ravasi Lemitan Raisa Alturia gave Sonin Mavasranaya. Hashem says, it's not my desire to give the Torah on something that's haughty and arrogant. Tur Sinai de Machich. Har Sinai is Machich, is small, is Rageg Meimra. Hashem la Ashra Allah Shchinte, and Hashem, because of that, Hashem wanted to give his divine presence in Har Sinai. Yeah. So what do we see here? See from Tehillim and from other places, from Tab Unison, how all the mountains want to be given on them, but ended up who was one that was the one that got it was Har Sinai. That's the one that Hashem decided. Why? Because it's small and weak. I know. So the meaning is that the tallness of the mountains of Tavar and Chermoin, this shows on the greatness, on it comes to greatness. That they raised up like with gasus, with haughtiness. And haughtiness is the source of all bad. And this is what Alter was saying, that having haughtiness, being arrogant, it's the source of all issues. Or you could say, in some sense, ego. You don't see that the biggest issue is when you have your ego in play, and we all have our ego in play. The problem is when the ego comes in play, what does it do? It makes us not being able to see the reality of what's really going on, and it totally warps us. Like it's known, the idea of Shus HaKelim. So we all know, or hopefully we all know, or now we're going to learn, there's a concept of Shus HaKelim. That essentially what happened was there was a world of Tohu and a world of Tikkun. The world of Tohu was a world called Tohu, means chaos, and basically it was a world with, like it says in the Chassidus, a lot of lights and not a lot of vessels. Meaning there's no receptacle to receive the energy. There's a lot of energy. It's like people that have a lot of energy, but they don't know how to hone it in. And so Toyo, and so basically what happened was they couldn't get along, all these different energies. So Chesed couldn't get along with Gvura, and Gvura couldn't get along with Chesed, and Tiferes, and all of them stayed separate. They couldn't get along. And ended off, what happened was because there was no Keli, because there was no way to keep them to hold it together, the world shattered. So Shviras HaKelim. I'm talking about Shviras HaKelim, they broke. And so the reason is because of their haughtiness, because they couldn't get along with each other. And that's the problem with haughtiness. Haughtiness is it's my way, and I can't think your way, and I can't listen to you. When you can't have a conversation with people, when you can't have a discussion, that's it all stems from this. And the opposite of it is when you can have a discussion. That was the world of Tikkun, which is the fixing world, which will fix up that mistake. And it says by Tikkun there's a lot of a lot of keli, not a lot of meaning there's a big receptacle, which means a person has the ability to listen. You know, in simple English, Toyu is a person that says, I can't listen. They don't listen to anyone else's opinion. Tikkun is the ability that we have that we can listen to someone else's opinion. And we have a discussion. And ultimately through that, you become wiser. Now, of course, we're not talking about discussion in whether I should do Torah mitzvahs. That doesn't make any sense. But a discussion about opinions, about ideas, the only way you can really bring out the ideas the best is being able to come together. Whereas Shviras HaKelim, Toyo, doesn't happen. And that was essentially what happens. On to page 5. So the main thing of Torah here, who is the Yois B'Bechinas Bittul, and Torah is meant to be Bittul, and that's why all these other mountains they weren't Bittul, they were Yeshus, and therefore Torah wasn't able to give on them. The Lois Echalu, look, it says why it is in a Bittul. The Lois Echalu, a shame, you shouldn't profane my holy name. It should be sanctified amongst the Jewish people. Ani Hashem Mekadashim, I am Hashem that sanctifies you. Become I explained in many places. Yeah, my holy name, which is through your ego, and I will be sanctified in the midst. So Hashem says, where the ego is in the way, then I can't be sanctified. Whereas you take away the ego, I can't be sanctified. So we're seeing here, that's why Hashem didn't want to give the Torah on all these other mountains, because they all had the union of ego. And tomorrow we'll continue to explain, get into it about what's the story of the Har Sinai. Essentially, what we're saying is, we need to understand why the Torah is given Har Sinai. So we got some background information that explains, like in Tam Yonason and also in Medrash Tehillim, that all the mountains said, I want the Torah to be given on me. Like everyone knows from all the kids' songs that the Torah wants to be given on me. And all these mountains asked. And Hashem said, no, because you guys have all big egos and you have haughtiness. And I don't want to give the Torah on haughtiness. I want to give it on Har Sinai. Like it says in Tam Yonason, it's small and weak. And tomorrow we'll get into the actual question that we explained in the beginning. And then we're going to start to answer. What's the answer to this? Meaning, to make it practical in our lives, it seems like we're saying we shouldn't be haughty. Should we be humble? Should we be weak? What is it? Like where we're meant to be, where we're meant to hold, or we're not meant to see, clearly we're not meant to be these mountains and these and toil. But what's the other extreme? What are we meant to be? Meant to be humble. What does it mean humble? Am I nobody? Am I weak? Am I a pushover? How did the balance the two? Be explained in Mir Hashem tomorrow.